Hello and welcome to the Patty Pod, Season 2, Episode 4. We are coming to you from the living room today. It is Monday. It is August 21st. We are continuing here with our summer, last week of summer for me before we go back to work. Had a great weekend. Did a little food crawl with Kate on Saturday. We went to a place for brunch that's not far from us, lovely little spot, and had sort of a standard menu, kind of an American menu, but a few other dishes from other cuisines. And then we walked to an ice cream shop in a really nice neighborhood that I haven't been in a lot called Prospects Lefferts Gardens. And it's on the other side of the park in Brooklyn. And then finally we went to a roti shop. It was a Caribbean roti shop in a neighborhood called Crown Heights. So delicious roti. It was fun to go do some new things, experience some new places, some new foods, and to walk around. It was a beautiful day. Friday night we got to go to the Brooklyn Cyclones game, which is a single A team here in Brooklyn. They are an affiliate of the Mets. I think I mentioned them before. So we did that. Kate hadn't been, so that's always a good time. And on Sunday, yesterday, we went to the beach. It was a beautiful day for a beach. We went down to Brighton Beach, Coney Island. So it was a good time, pretty good week. I did some more of the creative program last week. Some of that brought me to some museums in Manhattan and Brooklyn. I went to the Brooklyn Museum, saw an exhibition on Pablo Picasso by, I think she's a comedian, the woman who sort of curated it and kind of commented on some of his work. It was called Pablo-matic, and it was about a lot of it was about his unsavory behavior towards women and but how he also was, somewhat of a groundbreaking artist, and so how people have to deal with his bad behavior and his notable artistic achievements and how to work through all that. So it was good. It was interesting. I think it's time for something like that with somebody like him. In other news, I got a little hat news. I got 2 compliments this summer. I guess one was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, about my boater hat, straw hat. Both of them were from black guys, so I don't know if we're on a similar wavelength, me and the black guys in this part of Brooklyn, or a couple of the black guys at least. So that was cool. People don't usually speak to strangers at all in New York City. One guy said something like, "Dope hat." And I was like, "Oh, thanks," and Kate was with me for that one. We were on our way to the park. And the other guy was, I was just by myself. I was walking into the subway station, and I sort of had felt like I wanted to tell the first guy that I bought it on Amazon for $30 in case he wanted to buy one. So I mentioned it to the second guy. I don't know if he really needed to know. He was like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Amazon, $30. And he was like, "Oh, okay." But it was a fun moment. People don't generally talk to strangers in New York at all. And, men don't especially, and men don't compliment each other on their outfits or their clothing very often. So that was fun. I've actually done it myself. I commented once to a guy. I actually asked the guy where he got his shirt. He had kind of a floral pattern shirt that I liked, and he said to me, it was on the subway, and he said to me, "Why are you asking?" Which was like such a, I don't know if it's a New York thing or what. I said, "Because I like it, and I want to know where I can buy it." And then he said, "Oh, okay." And then he told me. It was like he was bracing for me to make fun of him or something. I don't know. I was surprised. I have been told by New Yorkers that when they travel to the Midwest or to Minnesota in particular, that they're like, they can't believe, the friendliness and the fact that like people will wave at them, or that the people will just sort of approach them and start talking. They're always like, what do you want from me? Like, that's their first thought is, what is this? Is he trying to sell me something? So I guess maybe that was that guy's reaction to my question about his shirt. He thought it was the lead to a sales pitch or something. I don't know what it was. But anyway, it was fun. I mentioned that Kate was with me when one of the guys complimented me, and she was also with me last year when I first got the black Bolero hat, and before I even got it cut. And, she's definitely not a fan of that hat, and she's been a little bit lukewarm on the other one. So when I was wearing that, I wore it to Trader Joe's one day when we got groceries, and I got, like, 2 compliments from some of the employees there, and she got to hear that. It's always a little sweeter when she's there, because, I've thought to myself, hey, ask anyone who's, maybe in their old age. You get these stories sometimes of wisdom from people from their deathbeds. And I'm sure, they'll tell you that scoring points against your spouse in fashion disagreements is what life's all about. So that's a little bit of hat news. We're going to move to the essay corner. This is from a little while back. Earlier in the summer I wrote this, so we'll jump right into it. Today was day 4 of my adventures in writing, based on the suggestion in the Artist's Way book that I go somewhere new each day. Actually, that wasn't in the the Artist's Way book, but we'll continue. For this day's new spot, I didn't have to choose. My friend has started a professional hockey league that plays in the summer and features 3-on-3 players opposed to the traditional 5-on-5. The league is in its 2nd year, and they tour from site to site on a particular day, kind of like the PGA Golf Tour. This day they were in Newark, New Jersey, which is about a half an hour from Manhattan and about an hour and a half from me in Brooklyn. A group of our hockey-playing friends made the trip out to see the event and our friend. Someone decided to go to a bar and grill called American Whiskey before the game. This place was new to me. I hadn't seen this group of guys in about 5 weeks. Normally I see some of them once or twice a week. I'm injured, however, and haven't been able to play for a little while now. The event came during the summer when I haven't been working. Because virtually all of my friends have been working, I don't see many of them, or in fact, anybody else I know, other than my wife, on a regular basis. That is to say, I'm alone much of the week. I wouldn't describe myself as lonely, but as I've mentioned previously in other writings, I have struggled a bit with negative thinking. I found an escape from that during my time with my friends. And as I think about it, it's not an escape from reality to some kind of playtime non-reality. In fact, the socializing and little bumps of endorphins it gives me help me get back to seeing reality more clearly. That is, with less negative thinking. It was also nice to know that I didn't have to wake up very early and could relax and enjoy the company of my friends. Being away from them has reminded me that even though I don't necessarily feel strong highs all the time when hanging out with my friends, they help to keep my ship on course without me realizing it. They help me feel connected, as many say about friendship. And what is that connection? It is knowing that there are people who can give concrete, specific help when you need it, but it's also knowing that they can give you more subtle help. They can give you a different way of looking at things, a little encouragement, a sense that things are okay, good even. They help you to laugh, to blow off steam. And there's something more about friendship, past all of that, which has something to do with just the love you have for each other. That's the essay for the week. I hope you guys liked it. I've also been noticing in this last week, I've seen some Subway ads for things like television shows, like sort of television show tours that you can do here in New York City. There's one for Sex and the City, where you can go to various spots in the city that served as, kind of the main settings on the show. I think you can go to a spot where they have the exterior shot for the apartment of the main character. I'm forgetting her name now, off the top of my head. Played by Sarah Jessica Parker. There's also an operation called the Friends Experience, where you can visit sets that have been like meticulously recreated from that show, faithfully rebuilt. And I posted last week on social media. We're past 1,000 downloads, so I want to say thanks to everybody for that. That's awesome that we got past that mark. I think we're actually past probably about 1,500, because I know my app doesn't, my platform, the hosting platform, doesn't count everything. I've sort of cross-checked it with other things. But anyway, thanks everybody. I'm very grateful for that. That's awesome. It makes me feel like, people like this, and I should keep doing it. So rather than it being a long voice memo for myself. So thanks everybody. I love it. I love that you're listening. Reach out if you haven't reached out. I love to hear when people say they've listened. This podcast has helped me get in touch with some old friends, which is probably the best part about it, or one of the best parts for sure. So thanks everybody. But I guess I just sort of realized, since we have reached that point, it's probably time for me to start doing something like this, like the Friends Experience, or the Sex and the City tour. So I like the idea. I think my sets would be my apartment, because I'm always here recording the podcast. I like the idea of a faithfully built replica of my apartment. You could get a little Russian blue looking cat, get a broken dishwasher in there for at the moment. Maybe we could have a large middle-aged Italian repairman. He could walk around the set, and he could just bend everybody's ear about his thoughts on society and its ills. That could be a feature. I was trying to think about something else, maybe a full-scale hockey rink, but I don't know. You would just see. But then we'd have to get 15 middle-aged guys and watch them play. That would be a key part of the experience. I could forget people's names, maybe. That would help to get the real authentic deal. And, I thought maybe we could get Kate walking around. We could have a Kate lookalike in the apartment. And the cat would favor her, would give her over everybody else. The cat wouldn't pay much attention to anybody else except for her. And she could say things like, why would anyone want to listen to a podcast, this podcast? Sorry, I can't help myself. I'm going to forever think that's funny. Speaking of Kate, I realized last week that when she thinks I've said something that's kind of stupid, she talks to me like a Middle Eastern business owner. She'll say, I'll say something like, the electric bill can't be over $300. And she'll say, no, my friend, it most certainly can. The next time I ask if we're having a dinner at the normal time or something like that, I'm starting to expect her to say something like, don't worry, boss, everything's gonna be fine. I don't know how she slips into that mode, but I know I've asked something, I've said something that she finds a little silly if I get that mode, Middle Eastern business owner mode. Wanted to go over to the spiritual corner for a minute. I'm going to parrot my favorite author, Anita Moorjani. She thinks her audience is mainly sensitive type people, which seems right. I think I'm a bit sensitive. And something that she talks about, which is kind of counter to what I've heard in a lot of discussions about spirituality, is the need for a healthy ego. You hear a lot of people, especially I think before I got into her work, maybe it was just my particular route. I think about Wayne Dyer. I was reading him, and I just was kind of watching an Eckhart Tolle video the other day, and I got some of this. There's a lot of discussion about not sort of serving your ego or not following your ego's demands, and there's definitely something to that. And I think for some people, the people that we can think of in our lives that are really egomaniacal, they probably need to hear that message. But a lot of people who sort of go on a spiritual path, I think, actually are kind of more sensitive and need to kind of embrace the ego a bit. Like Anita says, I sort of feel like Flavor Flav right now. I'm like her hype man. Like, he was in a rap group called Public Enemy, and there was a main guy, Chuck D, who would do most of the rapping, and then Flavor Flav would be like, and it's like that. He'd kind of like, yeah, in the background. So I think that's I could be a good hype man for Anita. But I think it's just I sort of parrot her because it's been something that's been helpful for me. That's what I try to do in the spiritual corner, just share things that have been helpful for me. So yeah, I mean, it's not about being mean to anybody, but it's about just standing up for yourself, kind of getting the rappers sort of a rapper's mentality where you're feeling yourself, as Jay-Z would say. It's not a bad thing, I kind of had that mode when I was younger because I think I listened to that and I was hanging out with athletes and I was a teenager, and you kind of do that when you're in that world, And then I got away from it, I think, is in an attempt to be kind of a respectable adult and in an attempt to be, as I got kind of down the spiritual path. But there's nothing wrong with feeling yourself, for sure. So that's a little bit about the ego and embracing the ego, and how for a lot of us, I think it's really a healthy thing. It's something I got to remember, too. It's easy to focus on the things we need to improve and not focus on the things we do well. Hey, I got an update on my man with the solar panel in Prospect Park. He is grilling. I had a chance to sit on the other side of him the other day, and I could see the grill. And don't ask me why I got so excited, but I was. I think it's because he found this little nook. There's a little clearing that's like kind of right where the woods start, and he's just he's got his solar panel. He's running a little cord back to his grill, and he's just back there chilling and grilling. From the little peek I got, he's at least got a lawn chair and possibly a small radio back there as well. So this guy is living life. And it's a small enough space, so it's would be weird to go back there. It's a small enough little clearing. So basically, my man has figured out a way to have his own private section of a New York City park. And I think I told you last week that I liked the cut of this jib just from seeing him walk around, and seeing that he's got this little setup just confirms my judgment. This guy is doing it right. I also mentioned that earlier in this season that I like when I encounter things that seem counter to things that I believe in. I meant a little bit when I talked about the ego a little bit. That kind of happened in that situation. I think of the phrase "don't just do something, sit there," that I've heard from recovery circles, and it's an inversion of the more common phrase that we get about "don't just sit there, do something." And when I first heard it, it was like a revelation to me. I've heard the opposite from so many places. And it kind of reminds me of the Taoist concept of Wu Wei, which is often translated as inaction or effortless action. It's different, but it's similar. Merriam-Webster defines Wu Wei as letting one's actions follow the simple and spontaneous course of nature. And both of these ideas, just don't just do something, sit there, and this idea of the Wu Wei have made a pretty big impact on me and have saved me a lot of grief at times when I've not know what to do, and my mind on its own has started to construct some grand plans or grand schemes of what I need to do, what I think I need to do for these various scenarios that I can imagine. And sometimes just sitting there, don't just do something, sit there, has been really what I needed to hear. And one of those things that's just was counter to a lot of things that I grew up in. Was kind of a shocker. I couldn't believe somebody was saying that to me when I first heard it. So it was a good reminder. The Wu Wei reminds me of this idea that I heard about from a guy who spoke about on a Taoist podcast. He was saying how I think he felt like he saw it embodied in he was in India and he just saw a man kind of walking along on the sidewalk and just laid down somewhere and just took a nap. And, there's this sort of an idea that India is this, blissful spiritual paradise. And there's, this Western idea about that, which is, it's a cliche. But there's something, I think, to it about different ideas. I know the world's becoming westernized in many ways, but I think in some parts of the world, Ireland as well, I think, in the west of Ireland especially, there's still some kind of spirituality that is sort of lost in other parts of the world. So the Wu Wei made me think about that. Also, I had to this week the last week I wasn't able to read or to use to scroll social media or to even listen to podcasts or watch television as part of this creative program that I'm doing. And so I went to the beach a lot, and I planned that trip to the beach this weekend as kind of to give myself something to do. And I realized, I think, that a large part of the appeal of the beach is it's maybe the only socially acceptable place where you can go out and take a nap, in public, if you're in the middle of the day. If you're feeling not feeling it that day, but you don't want to feel like a slacker, well, just head to the beach. You can take a 3-hour nap, and no one's going to give you any grief for it. So I do think that's part of the beach. Speaking of the beach, I was there earlier in the week as well, than last week. And there's a bunch of ladies there, in their bikinis, and small bikinis seem to be a popular thing these days. And, I've lived long enough to realize that there are people in kind of every walk of life that don't really understand social conventions. And, being from Minnesota, we're kind of a polite group. And so I sort of realized that there's got to be somebody out there, or a number of people out there, of like guys who don't really understand social conventions, but also are really polite. And I thought about those guys on the beach. And so I would think, maybe by accident you try to like skip a whole bunch of steps in romance. And so I thought of this guy called the Courteous Cad. And I could see him approaching women on the beach with this, kind of a look on his face, and saying something like, excuse me, ma'am. First of all, how are you? How is your day going so far? Yeah, good. That's wonderful. I couldn't help but notice your well-developed breasts, and it got me thinking. And when I saw your plump lips, I'll tell you, I immediately conjured up a number of scenarios. When I see you, I just kind of want to spaz out, next to you. And is that cool? And yeah, he must be out there, the Courteous Cad. He's probably in a cubicle somewhere in Minneapolis right now, as we speak. I have the habit, I realize, of telling the same kind of joke to a friend group I have on text. It's always about how great I am. For example, I've texted things like, well, guys, we're 2 weeks into the Olympics and I can't find an event I don't win. Or, well, guys, I just got back from MoMA and it's as we've suspected, no one's caught up to me. Only one of the guys really likes it, or at least responds, but for some reason I just can't help myself. I just keep sending them. So, EJ, there's more where that came from. Jesse, Derek, Adam, I'm sorry, guys. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry. It's a disease. I can't help myself. Bear with me. Say, every once in a while, I have a bad day, and, maybe there's something I can't quite seem to solve that I've been working on. And I think to myself, things are tough, man. I'm down. But I also try to think to myself, it'd be much tougher to be an R&B singer in Saudi Arabia. I've always imagined a group over there, they'd be walking around like Burger girl, I think I love you, but I can't see your face. But I'm staring at you, seems that your lady parts are in the right place. Burger girl, I'm dying here now. Just send me a sign. A sign, blink once if you're ugly. Once if you're ugly and twice if you're fine. Burger girl, I've been doing my thing, running my game from Mecca to Medina, stopping brothers on the street every imam I meet, saying, tell me, have you seen her? Burger girl, I think you're number one. It's just something that I feel, but how can I know? How can I be sure unless you reveal? But burger girl, I know that can't happen, and I won't be mean. Just give me a nod if you got a rockin' bar behind the scenes. It's a tough gig. All right, that's it for me. I hope everyone's doing well. Peace and love.